old also, so 12, 13. I didn't start when I was much younger. And for me, we didn't have access to libraries. But at one point I had a book, I was very bored, and I started reading Enid Blyton's Brer Rabbit. And at that age, at 12, 13, I didn't realize a book could actually take me to a world that I never, imagined existed. So it was something really amazing, and I got hooked onto books because of that one book. And I was bored. So there was no distractions, right, on TV and whatever. I have two daughters, a 10-year-old and a 6-year-old. I have over 1,000 books because, as in Tanzania, we don't have a public library system. So if I like a book online, I buy it. I have to buy it. If I travel, I buy a book because there's no library system. And what I've done is on a Friday, right, I have made that a reading book. So Friday, because Saturday there's no school, children usually want to watch TV. I've made it into a no TV day, no electronics day. Yeah, hard copy reading, so that was Saturday. I mean, they can read if they want from an iPad, but Friday is hard, cover textbooks or books. And my girls really enjoy it. I spend time with them, and my aim is because I want them to have that positive memory, positive experience of reading with me, because I don't want them to have that negative where it has to be read, And I think in schools the problem is when they're given a book, they might not even like it. Sometimes they're not able to understand it, but they're forced to read it. So it sort of has a negative impact to the reading experience.
I think you're absolutely right. And it's interesting you mentioned how you want your kids to read the hardcover books more than the books on the iPad. Yes, if it's a choice between them wanting to read or not, let them read on the iPad or tablet. But so far, statistically, they've discovered that there's still a different way that the brain accesses a book and the experience of reading from actually touching the texture of the pages. That does not happen when you're actually accessing an iPad. So still, if you're going to choose between iPad and hardcover books, the experience, the smell, the texture still has more of an impact than the technology. I know that they're trying to work on technology and trying to make it feel more real, but at this stage, it's still the hardcover book that wins out when it comes to impacting different brain centers. I have 3 kids. I have 3 boys, almost 12, 10, and 20 months. And before I actually decided to go into education, it was my kids. The reason why I went to education was because of my kids. And when my oldest son was born, I was nuts. I had some complications in labor. They weren't sure if his brain was going to be okay. Thank God he's okay. But for me, as a mom, I was like, okay, I'm going to do everything I can to make sure his brain is at the optimal level. So I started researching all the methods of how to make your kid bright, make your kid a genius. Baby Einstein was popular. Anything they said, I was for it, whether it worked or not, right? So what I discovered, the main thing was just sitting my child on my lap and reading in the evenings. Just that simple act. And we get to a word and we start singing and make up these really silly songs that if I sang them, all of you would be completely irritated about them because it's just crazy songs and about letters and words. And he loved it. We could do that for 2 hours. And what happened by the time he was 4, both him and his brother, they were both able to read. Not because I was like, come here kids, sit down and read. And I think that's where it starts. We have this discrepancy in our mind that we think that reading is serious business. Immediately when you come to a child like that, they start to put reading outside of the realm of play. There's play and there's reading. So that is why, as an educator, we have 2 very different schools of thought with regards to reading. We have the one school of thought that's like, okay, the kid is 3. We need worksheet, we need penmanship, you need to get serious. We know those schools, right? Mostly 8 for 4 and other British types, old school British types. Then we have the other school of thought on the other side of the pendulum. It's like, no, let's play, let's delay reading, let's have creativity and all of those wonderful art experiences. And those 2 schools of thought are so far apart, they will never meet in the middle, at least not for the next 30 years or so. You know, those the Waldorf type schools, the unschooling, those types of schools are on that side of the pendulum. Now, what I was able to do, I was able to develop a curriculum by accident with my kids that combined the two. Right in the middle, where they were able to dance and learn to read. Using scarves and things like that, and music, we could make the shape of the letter A. Then we could use chalk on the ground and that sort of thing. And from there, they knew that reading was a game. They didn't even have to think of it as reading. They didn't even know they were reading. And so by the time they were 4, they were able to get a scholarship to a very prestigious private school. Interestingly enough, most of the kids, they were very rich. They had, in Bermuda, I'm from Bermuda, born and raised, people don't have nannies unless you are like extremely wealthy. It's not like here where that's kind of our nannies have nannies. And they had tennis courts and, the kids' parties, they would have champagne and pools and all these things. And art rooms that were bigger than this, just for art and games, they were bigger than this area. And I discovered that it wasn't about having all the stuff. It was just about taking time. Now, why am I talking about that? Because we're supposed to be talking about teens. Is that how we ask our kids to approach reading is how they will access it in the mind. Once the kid becomes 11, and now, they're in middle school or high school, depending on the curriculum that they're in, and you're like, okay, you have that talk, it's time to get serious. Immediately, all the fun in education has left the building. Keep education fun in your home. Even if in school, now they want them to get more serious, let them bring the homework home. Make a song, make a dance. Turn on the rap music. I know a lot of parents are like, I don't know what they're saying, I don't like the beat, maybe they have curse words or what. You can just go online and get the beats themselves. And let them repeat paragraphs to the rap music. What that will do, rhythm also lends itself to memory. Memory is one step before comprehension. You're building reading comprehension using something that your kids love. Now, if you ask them to move about and act out what they've just read to you, now that adds another dimension. Now it's in their head and also in their body. So we're taking the same things that they did as little kids, playing games and all of that, into their teen years. And that brings back the fun into reading. So these are just some small tips that you can do. We're going to talk about some questions and things like that as we move on, but these are some of the items that you can do with your teen. If your teen is very much into their phone, we all are, we're all attached, there's a way, there are apps that you can download. There's Google, there's so many things on Google, there's so many Kindle type stuff. You can ask your kid to text you what they've read. In good sentences, of course. And so these types of things, we're not saying, oh, that phone is so horrible, it's taking you away, you're not concentrating. Use what they're attached to. Ask them to text you in paragraphs and write in proper sentences, then you text back, or what's up? Let's use what they're interested in. Anyway, sorry, let's continue on.
No, I think I'm going to take some of the sticks back home too.
Yeah, awesome.
What I do have is some statistics, just general ones that I got online. I'm going to read a few for you. There's a report that was done by Scholastic of parents between the ages of 0 and 5 in an attempt to discover what made children frequent readers. And one of the report found that 6 to 11-year-old is more likely to be a frequent reader if they are currently read aloud at home. So I think it's something we both do, right? And I had read this also before I started reading. So if you just read with the children, at home to make that positive thing.
Can I also say something? Also, if you have older kids who don't like reading, we like to think that story time and bedtime is for little kids. But honestly, if you start to read a story to teenagers, they actually love that. And it's not a waste of their time, even as a teacher, because when a teenager is hearing someone read, they're hearing how they're supposed to read. there are teenagers that still read like that with stops and they're kind of going over the words or skipping words because they're just, it's reading becomes too slow with all the extra stimulation. But if you're reading to them, first of all, you're bonding. Second of all, they're hearing what reading sounds like. And third of all, it's not intimidating. It's not something they have to do as a school assignment. Yes, continue.
I do the same with my 10-year-old because she's one of those people that doesn't like to read, one of those kids. So I try to find all these different ways, which I think we'll talk about, the issues that you guys face with as teachers and librarians. And I also try to find innovative ways, how to make her read. So one of the things I do is read for her. If she doesn't want to read, I'm like, okay, fine, let me read a page for you, And then I might even discuss after one chapter, what did you learn, what would you have done, to sort of engage her in what she had read. There's something, there's a quote that I like, so I'm going to read the quote for you. It's from a linguist, Stephen Krashen. When children read for pleasure, when they get hooked on books, they acquire involuntarily and without conscious effort nearly all of the so-called language skills many people are so concerned about. They will become adequate readers, acquiring a large vocabulary, developing the ability to understand and use complex grammatical constructions, develop good writing style, and become good, but not necessarily perfect spellers. Although free voluntarily reading alone would not ensure attainment of the highest level of literacy, it will at least ensure an acceptable level. Without it, I suspect that children simply do not have a chance. So we already know the benefits. This is just a few. The internet is full of the benefits. But we are facing a problem with the teens, I think, everywhere, where we think that they're not reading enough. So how, Joanne, do you think we can help? And maybe you can tell us what sort of problems you guys face as librarians and teachers, and maybe the solution that we can help each other out, to the way forward.
Well, I think I've mentioned a bunch of tips, but how can we help each other out as a community? For instance, if you are that parent who uses the tablet as a babysitter, keeps the kids quiet, otherwise they'll be jumping all over the furniture, take note of how the other parents are seeing that. For instance, can you, when your kids come over, can you say, okay, you guys are having fun on your tablets, your phones, your texting, and all that type of stuff. In a half an hour, I want to see everybody outside. Or in 15 minutes, put a time limit on the technology. And say, in 15 minutes, now I want you to read this story and tell me what it's about. Matter of fact, I want you to make up a play about it, then come show me. I know it's tiring, we all work, but if once in a while you can do that, that now brings a community together to build literacy and to build love of literacy and that sort of thing. That's one option. I think I've mentioned several previously.
Some parents, what they do is they actually give technology time. And if you want to have this much time on technology, play a game, a video game or something. Then the other time, then you have that same amount of time for your reading. Just a few parents that I know, so then it sort of equals it because you can't, tell them not to do or use the technology that they have or play the games. So then you try to find another way, around it and simplify it, then, include reading somewhere in there.
Exactly. So those are ideas. Sleep books are great times for books and book games. Cutting out different paragraphs to poems or stanzas of books and trying to guess, where it's from is another option. I've taught Shakespeare to kids. My students love Shakespeare, as a matter of fact, because we did it through a dance. So when you have a poem that might have these old English words that no one uses anymore, kids today don't even know what it means. When I said, what is the word art? Like what I'm using, like thou art, and they're like to paint a picture. Because really, this generation is so far removed from that language, it doesn't even make sense. But when you go through the definition through movement, they catch it differently and they start to appreciate it. So at the end of the year, like I've had some students that are saying, can you please buy me a Shakespeare book? Like, who does that? But when we access it, in a different way, then they're able to appreciate it more. Same thing with poems that we love and know, like, for instance, poets like Maya Angelou, Nikki Giovanni, Langston Hughes, James Baldwin, and the like. We can use these and make it more applicable to our students that way. Blending poetry with the written text is a good way as well.